Alright, this subscriber says, I use some hues for things other than their color. For example, I use raw sienna mixed with green for distant foliage. However, I use burnt sienna mixed with green for foreground foliage, changing values. It seems that manufacturers come out with certain hues for things other than their color. Payne's gray is another hue. Knowing which colors are made for specific applications and having a better understanding of what their intended purposes are would go a long, long way. Well, we need a little clarity here. Okay, we have a couple of issues here. One issue is what the question of for what purpose are tube colors designed, and then the other issue is the language we use to talk about tube colors. Now, let's just get the tube colors of what their purposes out of the way first. Unless there's a set of tube colors that is designed by a particular artist, for example, John Howard Sandon, in his teaching of portraits, has designed a set of tube colors that will more easily paint portraits the way he paints them. Now that's different from just traditional, or you might say generic, tube colors. The reason we have so many tube colors is to give us options. Give us options to do various things that we would like to happen in our paintings. So there's one thing, just whatever color it takes to do the job, that's fine. But there's a confusion here, and here's where I want to give you clarity, and that is the difference between the tube color name and hues. Because not all tube color names are going to tell you what the hue is. For example, the Hanso yellow light will tell us that this is yellow. Yellow is a hue. But Viridian doesn't tell us what the hue is. Viridian is not a hue. A Viridian is a blue-green, as we see here. But it is not a hue. It's the name of a tube color. Another example is Terra Rosa. That doesn't tell us, doesn't have in it the name of the hue that's in here. So it tells us that only that this is Terra Rosa, and we learn what Terra Rosa looks like when it comes out of a tube. But when we learn to identify the hue, we learn to identify according to the names of the color of the hues themselves. Yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, green, etc. Those are the hues. Every tube color does have a hue, and if it's not the exact hue, then you might call it the root hue. Now let's use Terra Rosa as an example here. So I've got Terra Rosa right here on the palette, and let's assume, okay, this is Terra Rosa, but what hue is it? So I will, on this little test strip here, those of you that have watched Quick Tips before know that I love using test strips. On this little test strip, I'll just paint some Terra Rosa. Now I will just hold it. I'll hold it around the color wheel and see if I can find its hue. So I'll hold it right here. Well, its hue is not violet. You can see that. You can see its hue is not red-violet. You can see its hue gets a little bit closer to red. Its hue may be red-orange. But what is the difference there, and how are we going to know? It is a low-intensity red or red-orange. Alright, so now one thing that might be confusing us here is the difference in value. So let's decrease the value. Let's just put this right here, and let's decrease the value by adding a little bit of white to Terra Rosa. Let's get it closer to the value that we're seeing there on the color wheel. This is showing you one way that you can locate the actual hue that we're looking at. So I'll see now if I can get the value close to the value. The way we do that is to squint. Now when I do that, I can see that it seems to be off. It seems to be leaning more towards orange. Let's lower that value a little bit more. I'll just add a little bit more white to that edge of the to the little test strip there. Now you can see that seems to be leaning a little bit more towards orange. Now can you see that? Can you see the leaning towards orange? Now if you push it here, now you see it's not pulling as close to yellow orange as it is orange and red orange. So we might say that Terra Rosa is a red-orange hue that would belong right here in this range. Now, another way you can test that, I have in another quick tip, is you can pull a high intensity, fully saturated red-orange. You could start out with something like cadmium red light and add some orange into it, and then you begin to add its complement to it, and you should be able to come up with a Terra Rosa. So Terra Rosa is the tube color name, but red-orange is the hue of Terra Rosa. Now let's do one other one. And this one is a little bit more obvious. When the intensity of the saturation has been reduced, it's a little bit more difficult to recognize the hue because it's not obvious. It's had a lot of its hue neutralized by the complement, and all the earth colors fall into that category. But let's try another one. Now let's do Viridian. I'll just put a little bit of Viridian on the palette here because I brought that one up earlier. And Viridian doesn't tell us a thing about the hue. So to find the hue of Viridian, we start again just by putting a little sample of Viridian on the end of a piece of paper, or this is cardstock actually. Now, we have a good color wheel. Alright, so we would kind of move it around. Alright, so we know it's not these hues. It's not yellow green. It's a green, alright, but it's not green, but it's blue green. See it right there. So a lot of the tube colors are going to be highly saturated, and when they are, regardless of what they're called, you should be able to test them, and you should be able to find them on the color wheel, somewhere on the color, and then you'll know what the hue is. If the hue is blue-green, that tells me then that I could use blue-green, I could add yellow into it and make it a yellow-green, or I could add blue into it and make it even a bluer green, or I could add more blue and make it more like a sky blue. I could add violet to it, and I would get a really nice kind of navy blue but lower intensity because violet has the red in it. So learning the hue names and learning then what they can do to each other gives you all that flexibility, and then when a new tube color comes out, the first thing you want to do, if you buy that tube color, the first thing you want to do is to find out what is its hue. And then you find out what is its hue, and you will know what it can do to other colors in order to enable you then to have more flexibility in your painting. Be sure to view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to DianeMize.com where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.